Hi and welcome back to Dimitri's kitchen. Right, so I had a thought because I made the quiz. You watched my last presentation. I made a Christmas cake, which reminds me, Christmas music. So I thought a lot of you are going to go, oh yeah, well, I don't really want to wait till Christmas to make the icing or the marzipan. So I thought what I'd do is I would make a smaller version of a Christmas cake, so the Christmas cake will come to about there, and show you how to do the marzipan and the icing, although I have cheated slightly. So what you're going to need for the marzipan is marzipan, and that's where I've cheated. I'm not making it myself this time because I haven't got time, quite honestly. And to be honest, buying it is already made. It's okay, you know, tastes just as good. So this is what it looks like. Okay, which is going to go with the cake. So you're going to need the marzipan, the cake which you already have done, hopefully. You'll need 3 eggs for the icing. So I'm going to make royal icing, try to say that again, royal icing, which you use egg whites for. Remember, I said egg whites. You will need, this is 500 grams of icing sugar. You will need 600 really to do a bigger cake. There's no point in me having more. You will need apricot jam to, you heat, I'll show you in a second, you heat up. Brush to put the apricot jam on the cake, a sieve for the icing sugar, spatula to put the icing on. I'm going to use this. You can do it by hand, of course, but when you can use mod cons, why not? So, first of all, got my apricot jam. I've already heated up the hob. Hob. I think I'm mad. So hob is another name for the devil, which is a bit strange considering it's Christmas. Well, it's not Christmas, but anyway, I don't know if you've ever seen the Quatermass experiment, or Quatermass in the pit. That's it. So there, it was situated by a tube station, I believe, and it was called Hob's End, so meaning the devil. And there was lots of sightings and demons, and there were actually aliens that have landed millions of years ago. It was the particular one I like was made in, I think, early 60s. It's about 3 hours long, but it was a series that they compressed into a film for the modern audience. It's mad. It's if you can, you know, I can sit down if it's good in front of a film 5, 6, 7 hours. So it's entirely up to you. So I'm putting apricot jam into the saucepan, which I'm going to heat and melt. This is to basically, here's your cake. Oh, I don't know if I had it on this. So this is to put it on here. I put it on just a chopping board for now. So you're going to be putting the jam all over this, put the marzipan over that, and then we'll get to the icing, of course. So, moving on swiftly. So heating this up. So my brother, if you watch this, when we were young, this is the music playing is Dean Martin and Nat King Cole. It was our favourite Christmas album. We used to listen to it over and over again. Right, while that's heating up, I'm just going to go stage right and back. Well, not welcome back because I haven't really been anywhere. Jam melted, so now I'm going to literally spread it all over the cake. My eyes all around the happiest Christmas tree. So yesterday was my. If you want to follow me at all on Facebook, go to Dimitri Turin, as in Turin, Turin, Turin as in the Turin Shroud. That's me. So you'll see pictures. Yesterday was my daughter's 26th birthday. So my wife went first of all to London and Oxford Circus, and they went to jewellery and clothes shopping, which naturally I went, no, I'm not doing that, which I didn't. However, I went into, so we were meeting in near King's Cross, where Harry Potter, 9 3/4 and all that. So we were meeting there at 5:30 to go for a meal in a Korean restaurant, and so I met them there. I was there first, and then my son came down from Coventry to do a surprise visit for his sister, and of course I'm outside. I arrived early. In fact, I arrived really early because I wandered around London, which I love doing, and taking photos and having a drink in a good old English pub. And I arrived early, and there was a queue, sort of 20 deep, and I'm thinking, oh, they've booked. I'm sure they booked it Saturday night. Had they? No! We all make mistakes. It wasn't important. What happened was we ended up going to an Indian restaurant, and we had a great evening. It was, so Shia's closest friends were there, my wife and I were there, so it was and of course my son. It was a lovely evening. So, anyway, I've covered the cake with the jam. I'm now going to do the cheat with the marzipan, which you have to forgive me this year. So here we go. Just place it over like so. Normally, another way you can buy it, which is, if you want it thicker, apart from making it yourself, you can buy it in big slabs that you would then need a rolling pin, and you just put icing sugar on the counter and roll it out, which is what I normally do if I haven't made it myself. So, do this, make sure it's all tucked in nicely. Yeah, there's something about. As I was walking yesterday, I went past the Charles Dickens museum, which is situated in a house he used to live on Dowkey Street in the city. And of course, I had to stop by, and as you probably heard, did I tell you this? I'm not sure. Dickens is my favourite writer for many reasons. Apart from the Christmas Carol, which I did tell you about. My other favourite writer, I love Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, some of his stuff. Sort of heading towards sci-fi, aren't I? But I also like Bram Stoker, like Dracula. There were some fantasy books. I love factual books quite a lot of the time, history and stuff like that. So there you go. You can, if you want to, use these to make balls of snow later. So now we're going to do the icing. So the most important part is the egg white. So I'm now going to separate the egg whites, and this is done thus. So crack your egg. Look at this. Okay. As you can see, I'm just getting the egg white out, keeping the egg yolk in there. You can either throw it away or the egg yolk, or if you want, just eat it. Eat it. Especially if you're a bodybuilder, you can just swallow it as they do. Funny enough, I used to do a lot of. You wouldn't guess that now, but I used to do a lot of. Circuit training, gym training and circus training, because from the I know you might have heard in my last video I did a lot of tap dancing, but I wanted to be like Gene Kelly. Fred Astaire is the best ever, but I wanted to be like Gene Kelly in the way of putting somersaults and stuff like flips into, which I did, And luckily my mother, who can actually substantiate this, she came and saw one of my shows, which had a brass band and another young lady called Mandy who danced with me. It was good fun. Enjoyed it. So if you've got kids, I can always, my advice to to people with kids is not right. We all have no parent is perfect. We all make mistakes. But what my advice would be is to get them to try everything. Don't force them to do things, or encourage them. And if they like it, then they will stay. And if they don't, they really don't. They end up crying and things like that. Don't force them to do it. So here we go. Aside. So clean my hands. Towel. Tea towel. Don't use a tea towel for drying hands. I'm always telling myself off when I do this, and on the floor it goes. Right. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm also going to remember my lemon halver. Crusher. Lemon halver, did I say lemon halver? I'm going to add a bit of lemon juice to this, which sort of adds to the taste of royal icing. You can, some people add glucose to it, but I don't think you need to bother with that. You can purchase royal icing. Well, I can't say royal icing, it's wrong with it. Anyway, you can buy where you just add water to it, but it's nicer this way. Okay, so we're now going to always sieve flour or icing sugar when you're using them, if it stops any lumps. It makes it easier to use. Christmas trees. Do you have Christmas trees? I mean, we love a Christmas tree, and we seldomly we have an artificial one in the loft. We use it seldomly because we do prefer to have a real one if we can, and there's nothing like the smell of a real Christmas tree in your living room. And yes, we have a train under it. Haven't grown up yet, and nor will I ever. So this is what's happening here. I'm sieving the icing sugar into here. I might get a spoon actually. There you go. That makes it a bit quicker as well. I'm actually going to a little bit later make like a lot of chefs, we hate, well, I say ex-chef on my behalf, but I love cooking. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tenderloin pork I've got and just make a sauce, which I think I'm going to show you guys later how to do a sauce. But never mind, I'm doing this for now. June, have you heard that's been remade, for example? The film June, it's in the 80s, starred, what's his name, Sting. He's not a good actor, but I think it was an amazing film. And apparently, it's been remade. I don't think it's had great reviews at the moment. I can't stand critics, and they're never right. Well, seldom right. The thing is, if you're a critic, how can you give your opinion? You're meant to give an opinion on how you feel the people, your audience will like it, not just what you think. Because in doing that, you can actually destroy a good film from becoming, well known or famous or so. And there have been some great films, out there that have now become cult movies that were slated by the critics. So I'm going to do my larger sieve. It's got slightly bigger holes and does the same. Does it quicker, which is easier. So now I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice, and I'm going to add the eggs, white. Don't forget that. I'm then going to get my blender and whisk it. And so you're whisking it until it becomes touch it, and it will basically take a while. Come springy. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing right now. You may need to add some. Probably not. If it becomes too dry, you can add some water or a bit more lemon juice. So this is how it's looking now. So it's much quicker doing it this way and easier on the wrist. So both my wrists, hang on, can you hear me? So both my wrists have been damaged from years of being a biker, doing painting and decorating. I have a plate in this one from a big crash I had 7 years ago now, when a git of a cab driver did a U-turn on me on Chelsea Bridge. So can you see, it's got a lovely texture to it already, yeah? Move that to the side. Right, so now you can see that? It's got that lovely little spring to it. So you've got your spatula. Paste it around, smooth it around, paste it around, smooth it around. You can see that I sometimes get my words a bit mixed up. It's great. It's funny if I'm on stage learning lines. Well, I've learned my lines when I'm on stage. I don't, I know exactly what I'm doing and saying, but in life my head's always going 20 to a dozen. My brain, see? My brain is always going 20 to a dozen, so. So upstairs, one of my dreams is to, so many often, would be to convert an old church into a house. And my brother-in-law, and friend, he's upstairs, staying with us basically, and he found this church for sale up north, way up north. Big church, not small church, £40,000. Now, geez, if I was retiring, and right now, I personally I would want to retire to Cornwall, as you've heard, it's my favourite place in the world. But God, next to the sea, can you believe that? I mean, wow. For me, if it had been closer to a large, there's only a 3,000 population in this village where this church is situated. If it was in a town, which is why it's so cheap, I suppose, but if it's in a larger town, I would have jumped at the opportunity of buying it and turning it into a small theatre and workshop, etc., etc. Or we could turn it into a restaurant, but restaurants are hard work, they really are. One of the reasons I don't work in a restaurant now is, because I have worked in hotels, restaurants, bars, events. One of the reasons I don't do that anymore is because it's just such hard work, which I don't mind, but it also at the same time doesn't pay enough to warrant that hard work. And one of the things in this country is if you're watching the news or anything, there's a lot of jobs vacant at the moment because of COVID and people on furlough. And they talk about bringing in people from abroad, which I don't, again, and nothing against that at all. But one of the problems is say for example, the minimum wage is £8.91, I believe. I couldn't survive on that. So if you're a young person and you're looking to buy some property, your own house and everything, or even survive with a little bit in your pocket. How would you survive on that? You know? I think I might watch a Christmas movie. it's October the 10th and I might want to watch another Christmas movie. I think if you watch the making of the cake I did on the previous video, you will see that I watched the Santa Claus. But I think I might watch the follow-up to today, because it's always nice to be cheered up. Not that I'm feeling miserable, because I'm not. It's always nice to be cheered up. I think if you looked at my last video, I showed you pictures of, not a picture, I brought Conan, our cat Conan, into the film. Today we've got two cats, so they're brother and sister, and the Arya is the other one. And my wife found her in the drawer, our double bed. We've got drawers in it, and she's sleeping in the drawer. How she got in there, we cannot work out, but there we go. She did. I was also playing the music to the film Legend earlier. If you're noticing Legend with Maya Sara, Tim Curry, Tom Cruise. I think it was Tom Cruise's first film. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's the best fantasy film in respect of goblins, fairies, and such like ever made, in my opinion. So what's going to happen now is that's going to, start drying, and when it does, and as it has done so, I will do this, which will create kind of a snowy landscape. But you need to wait about 20 minutes, half hour for it to dry a bit, because it will start to fall at the sides, and then you just cut around it. So depending on what kind of icing you want, depending on what kind of icing you want to use, that's a royal icing cake. And I just wanted to add that this was because mostly Angara, I think that's how you pronounce your name. If I've pronounced it incorrectly, I apologise. And my sister Amelia in Cyprus asked me to show them how to make icing. I think I showed you. So it's starting to harden a little bit, so I thought I'd just show you what I do. It's really quite simple. That snow effect. And then you have what I do then is I get my little ornaments, traditional Christmas ones. So I have a tin of, and make a little Christmas scene, which everybody loves.